Hi folks, I'm Sean McCormick and it's actually Lightroom Tuesday. Yes, I'm recording this early. But however, it is Tuesday and this is a Lightroom Tuesday, and I know it's not every week like it's supposed to be. I will talk about what's going on personally at the end of the video so you know exactly where I am and why these haven't been as frequent. That is not of general concern to people who just are trying to find out what's going on. So let us jump in and have a look at the new features in Lightroom 8.3. Hey folks, so a new version of Lightroom. It's been a while since the last one. In fact, I felt like I was doing one every month for a while, but it hasn't been. It feels like longer now. So let's just dive in and just talk about what's going on here for a start. There's a couple of new things in here which are big. Flat field correction is a replacement for a plugin that there used to be, and now we have a different auto and a thing called texture that we're going to look at as well. There's a few other features, like there are tether editions, so the Canon EOS R has a tether, and then the RP has got camera support along with the A6400 and a few of the new Google Pixels, as well as some Lumix cameras and a few other bits and bobs as well. So these kind of things, and then the lens profiles and all that stuff are added, they'll be listed on the official blog for it as well, so I'm not going to go into details on them there. Just suffice to say that new cameras and new lenses will be supported. So right, let's actually go and talk about some of the stuff that's directly of interest to us here. Some of these things I think are great. I mean, fantastically great. Other things I'm like, it's a bit geeky, you know. I mean, usable and, you know, perfectly legitimate reason for having these. But, you know, just not something I'm going to use every day. So let us dive in and start talking about these things. But before I do that, there is something that I have neglected to mention, the elephant in the room. This is not a Lightroom Classic CC update. This is a Lightroom Classic update, because Lightroom Classic CC is now called Lightroom Classic. Okay, so we have another name change, and of course then so Lightroom Desktop, which was Lightroom CC, which is a replacement for what Lightroom Classic was when it was Lightroom CC. So that the desktop and ecosystem and mobile and web, which is the web is lightroom.adobe.com. And they're all interconnected as an ecosystem. They are now just called Lightroom. And what we all know and love for years and years and years and years as Lightroom is now Lightroom Classic. Not Classic CC, just Classic. So just Lightroom Classic, and then the other application and its set of apps to go with it for mobile and stuff like that is just Lightroom. Okay, the CC is gone. Support for the older versions of CC, like Lightroom 6, the CC version of Lightroom 6. There's no support for that. For the perpetual version 6.14, yes, that's still there, but not for any of the CC versions. Anyway, hopefully, this is the last of those name changes, okay? So, yeah, let's get on and have a look at this new stuff in Lightroom. Lightroom Classic 8.3. Now, Lightroom Classic 8.3, not Lightroom 8.3, because Lightroom is like 2.3. Alright, so Lightroom Classic 8.3, new feature starting with flat field correction. Right folks, so I did mention flat field correction, right, and we're going to look into it in a second. Now, flat field correction is something that was available as a plugin, and it was here, DNG flat field plugin. So the idea of flat field, which we can see here in these images here, is that you take an image and you take a diffuse version of the image so you're able to get just the kind of tonality in it. Now, I've tried two different diffusion methods. This here is just literally the front of softbox. This here is a dedicated diffuser. This is the actual diffuser I'm talking about here that I've used for it. And I tried to shoot it in such a way that it was as stiff as possible and had no creases in it to make it as easy as possible. However, this is not the right tool for the job, okay? So let us just kind of have a look at this for a second. This is closer to the right tool for the job, but this is not the right tool for the job because this text here is visible when I take a shot. So there are products, I don't want to really name names, but you know, the Expo disc being one of them, that just allows you to shoot a diffusion layer. So the idea with this is that flat field corrects a thing called lens shading. So lens shading is where you see the way that you've got this kind of darkening of the edges and stuff like that. So they're from the edge. Now in this case here, I've actually shot this lens here intentionally. This is a manual focus lens, so that way there's no lens profile applied and all this kind of stuff. Now the thing about using flat field correction is that it's better than like a lens profile because it's exactly accurate for the lens that you're using. Right now, the diffusion method that I am using is not perfect by any means stretch of the imagination. So we've had a couple of nice days, and so I've just popped out basically shooting this as well. I haven't actually been out shooting properly in the last couple of days despite the weather, just for work related reasons and stuff like that. Right, so we're going to take this image here and we're going to take the flat field image. Now if I look up here in library, we can see here that flat field correction is not it's not available. It's not the reason for that, the reason why it's not available is we've got only one image selected. So we select the image here and then we select the flat field correction that we have taken at the same time in the same light, preferably with exactly the same settings. Okay, so then you come here and you go to flat field correction. I'm going to do this twice. I'm going to do it with the first diffusion that I used yesterday, and then the one that I used today as well, just in test. Okay, so when it brings up this flat field correct and convert photos to DNG. Now when it does this DNG converting, it's actually going to boot the raw file out. Okay, so we'll have to bring the raw file back in again to do a comparison in a second. Now you can choose to only correct color cast, only correct the raw files, and you can choose to delete the originals. In this case here, it doesn't really matter because I'm only shooting a raw file anyway. It will create a DNG to the specifications that you set there. It could be a lossy DNG if you want it, and you can choose to embed the original raw file. I'm not going to do that. Because I've not clicked delete, the original raw file is still on the disk in the folder. We have to sync to bring it back in. So let's do this and just click OK. Click OK, and it will literally come up and we'll see it doing here. So it says flat field correcting 2 photos. So it's taken the original photo and the corrected photo. And if we look here, this is now a DNG. Okay, it's actually a -2 DNG because I've already done this. So if I go to folder in library, right, it's going to bring up the folder. And if I go, I happen to have the RAF file in here already because I've already brought it in. So, but I could synchronize folders or bring it in if it wasn't. All right. So now because I have these in the folder, I'm going to press B to add that to the folder. Right, and then clicking on this little badge here, I can select the folder. All right. So by doing that, I can select these 2 images here, which is the RAF file and the DNG. Just going to press N for survey view, and we can see the difference here. Right, so we can see that the edges have become significantly lighter. So this is just based on the information that is there from the DNG. Let me actually bring up so we can see what's going on here as well. So we can see the whole lot. So it's taken the shading here, right, and corrected the shading. So this darkening here, the edges has been fixed and stuff like that. Now, again, like I'm just showing you the principle because I don't feel that this is the most accurate representation. I think there's just too much showing through, so that it's showing way more detail than it possibly should. However, it has light in the image and the image looks pretty good for it, but you would just process from there. You can see that light is actually reasonably even across here compared to the shading that's happening in the corners here as well. Now I do feel it's a bit dark in the middle compared to the outside, so that's why I don't feel that this is 100%. Right, let's do it with a shot today with a different setup. Again, with that diffuser you saw me holding in my hands. So I'm going to go exactly the same thing. Library, flat field correction, same story. Just let it apply. Now you could just apply only the color correction, but I'm not doing that in this case here. So the color correction is because you can have color casts across the lens. So you could have magenta on one side or green on the other. So we can see here that it has now given us this. Now the same story if I go to folder in library, right click and go synchronize. So this will bring up one new image, which of course was the image that we just saw there. So it's importing the file. I should really turn off the jump to current import again. I reset my preferences a while ago, and so it jumps back to that. So I'm going to go back and actually I have to go back this way because I can't. Oh yeah, no, go to folder in library. It'll be the same thing. Go to folder in library, and then what I can do is I can select on this image here to go to the collection, or I can B to add to the collection, and then go to the collection itself, and then we can select that and those 2 here. And do that comparison again. So you can see that it's definitely lightening a lot of the edges and stuff like that and giving it a little bit more detail. Now, to me, it's washed it out a little bit. That's because I can definitely see some detail and stuff going on in here where it's removed it. Because I don't feel I'm doing this the best way and I need to get a dedicated tool for this. Now, this, like I say, is better than a lens profile because of the fact that you can do custom one per lens per shot as you're shooting. So, you shoot it in the environment you're in to get it, basically. Right, so that's pretty much a flat field correction. So the next thing I want to look at is, press G. So I want to talk about auto for a second here before we jump on to the thing that I'm super excited about. So there is a new auto. Okay, so the new auto is like, the idea is that it's just, they are constantly working to get better auto all the time. All right. And so in the basic panel, if you click auto, it will do an automatic correction. So we can see here that the sky has become much bluer and richer. The saturation has been bumped and the vibrance has been bumped, which is fine on landscape. So when people shots, this can actually not be good, and on product shots, it's not good at all. All right. So let us just do a little before and after. All right. Okay. Actually, no, I'll just press Y so we do a split view. Okay, so we can see here that we definitely have a richer sky. You know, it's definitely more saturated and stuff like that. So the new auto it's actually nice enough, but it depends on when you use it. So you have to be batch using it can be different, and using it on import versus using it directly on a file can be different as well. So just be aware of that. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about next is, and let's press Y to get out of there. And I am going to talk about this new slider here in the present section called texture. Texture is amazing. Okay, so texture, you can pull it out, of course, and make things nice and soft and sweet, but not like clarity. Let's compare it to clarity here for a second, which is, I'm sorry, but that's ugly. All right, okay. Or you can push it the whole way, right? And it's done a lot of work to create texture, and it has done a bit of the darkening the same way dehaze and clarity will do, but it hasn't broken up the image. It actually looks really, really cool. So let's just zoom in for a second here. So we can see all of this detail that's come out. It's almost like it's somewhere between clarity and sharpening. Okay, it's super, super cool. Right, so let me look at it on, just going to double click on that so it's gone away. Let me look at it on a shot that I had done of a landscape. Now this is a HDR DNG. So what I'm going to do here is just go in and grab that texture. Now it jumps like that because of the fact that I still have the loop deck software running, so I'm sure there might be an update that fixes that, but I haven't got it yet. Alright, so let me just bump this the whole way. Alright, can you see that detail? Just the way it changes. It literally just adds literal texture. It is absolutely beautiful. I mean, even at 41 there, it's amazing. So let's compare that with what clarity does, right, at 40. Okay, clarity is quite darkened, right, so it's crunched up a bit, and we got loads of little kind of noise appearing here, which is something that does happen a little bit with drone files. Whereas when we bump it here, I think it's a bit more pleasing. It's a lot more pleasing, right? Texture is just beautiful in there. All right. Now that is global texture. What about local texture? Because texture is available in brush form, all right? And this is where it is absolutely amazing. And so we have an image here. It's kind of zoomed in already. It's just coming into focus now, hopefully. There we go. Right, so we get into the brush tool, and inside the brush tool there is this new preset called Soften Skin Light. And what it does is it combines minus 35 texture with minus 15 clarity. Now the other one, the original Soften Skin, is like minus 100 clarity. Right, let me have a look at that right for a second, just show it you, right? Right, it adds saturation to the skin. I don't think it's pretty. Right, okay, so let me just delete that altogether. And now let's go for the Soften Skin Light and use that. Right, okay. I should swap to the pen actually rather than using the mouse for this because it's easier. But can you see that it is smoothing out the skin in a beautiful, beautiful way, but it is leaving all of the texture there, right? Which is when you're doing skin smoothing, which is what you want. Okay, so this tool, because I do so many portraits and stuff like that, this means that I don't have to leave the raw file and go in and edit to do skin retouching, right? Okay. And of course, I have all of the stuff like the range mask and stuff like that available should I want them as well. Now when you're doing this, press O, make sure that you're not going across areas of like definite detail, like you wouldn't go into the nostrils and stuff like that, and you wouldn't go into the eyes and stuff like that. So you definitely want shape, even along the edges of the cheek. You want to kind of hold those shapes where you can. Right, that's just showing that very quickly. So I press O to get rid of that. So I turn on and off this. Can you see the difference there? So that is absolutely fantastic. Now if you want, you can actually bring, let's have a look at it the whole way down, right? So that is way too soft, all right? But it's not an ugly, unappealing soft the way that texture is, or not, sorry, clarity is, right? So let me just bring that texture down a small bit, there we go. And then just add a small bit of that clarity as well, because a little bit of the clarity gone is okay. Okay, it's probably too much now in the texture, right? So you are able to do this retouching with this, and for me this tool is absolutely perfect for anybody that is doing portraits that needs some work done really, really quickly. Amazing. So happy with that. Now this isn't the only thing that's in it, so very quickly there is a change to the way import is done from SD cards or CF cards, and that is that it actually uses the DCIM folder basically. This is because you get better performance when you're importing directly from the folder rather than through the devices itself. So sync has changed as well, so you can get more, basically when you're doing a sync, it will allow more images to go up at the same time, so you should see a faster sync up and down. The text engine's been updated. So obviously that's going to change things in print, in book, in slideshow, and of course with watermarks. So you do need to check your watermarks and stuff like that to make sure they're still working. The export as PDF has been changed in book and slideshow as well. There's new video support as well. So the Tether SDK has been updated. Of course, clearly we see that in the fact that we've got the new Canon stuff coming in. And the final thing to mention is that OpenSSL has been upgraded for Windows users. So this affects things like emailing photos, SFTP, publish to Flickr, book upload for Blurb as well. So those are some of the changes that we have. Now there's a lot of bug fixes as well. So, you know, just general stuff. They're always fixing bugs and stuff like that. So there's a long list of bug fixes and stuff like that. Right, folks. So that is some of the stuff that has been changed. And if it felt like I was reading the last out off a list, you could be right. Okay. So folks, I promised that I would tell you what's going on. And because I've done a massive Facebook post on this, I think it's time to talk about it. I kind of mentioned a hint at it in comments and stuff like when I'm annoyed with people going on about stuff that's not important. For the last year and 8 months, we've been dealing with my wife having colon cancer. Now it had spread to her ovaries, to her liver, to her abdominal lining, the peritoneum. Please, I'm not medical. I mean, I did biology and stuff, and I did okay in it, but I don't remember the stuff. So this week, a year ago, she was in fact, this day a year ago, she was in high dependency unit after surgery. And yeah, it was tough. So they chopped out most of the stuff they could chop out, half her liver, loads of her bowel, aforementioned stomach lining, and a hysterectomy. And so intense, major surgery, scarred the whole way from her breastbone the whole way down. So yeah, so it was tough. But they got everything. And then and it gave us pretty much the all clear. But they're always reticent about that. They don't just say, yeah, definitely. And then a couple of months later, in a routine scan, they found more cancer spots in her lungs. So she's on a break from chemo at the moment. She's had 2/3 of a second session, and she's going back in again. So clearly, my time to dedicate to this channel has been limited because of the fact that I've been spending time between just work and bringing money in, and then dealing with all the housework and dealing with all the stuff to do with the stuff that she can't do because she's desperately incapacitated. So I have literally just, you know, kind of holding it together for stuff like that. So trying to keep the channel going, even though that was my aim when I started the channel, was to be doing at least 2 days a week. And I was actually potentially doing short videos for having a 5-day a week run. So I can't do that, clearly. However, I'm still going to keep on top of this stuff, and there's still stuff I want to do. So folks, if you do like what's happening here, please do subscribe to the channel, and of course give it a like, and please share it with your friends and stuff like that. If you hit the notification bell, you will get notified when these new videos come online, especially because they're not as frequent, so they may not show up in your general feed, just to let you know this stuff has happened. Anyway folks, I do find that this texture update for me is fantastic. It really does bring it back that I can do way more stuff in Lightroom. I should also mention the stuff that I am doing, that I have stuff ongoing with as well, and that is that I'm still writing. So I write for Digital Camera World, a UK print magazine. I have a monthly column with them. I'm still writing for Kelby One's Lightroom magazine. Again, I do the Maximum Workflow, which is a plugins article for them. And this month there's actually a Photoshop plugins article coming out in Photoshop User Magazine. So yeah, still doing stuff. I have a Last Light Halo review on Digital Photography School, and I have an article about that I'm just finishing on the TT350 Flash. So yeah, I'm still writing and stuff like that, so you can keep up with that stuff. So folks, again, I do appreciate that you've taken time to watch this, and I will see you in the next video, whenever that may be.